Hey guys, welcome back to Oxygen Not Included, and this is going to be a base update. I have spent the last couple of days refining things, and there's a few significant changes, and certainly if you've been copying my cooling system, then you're definitely going to want to stay tuned, because there's a couple of important changes that I've made that you'll want to make to yours. So, let's have a little bit of a look, shall we? So first of all, obviously, we've passed 1,000 cycles. So I thought, you know what, with all the little changes that I've made, and we've passed 1,000 cycles, let's recap where we're up to. Oh man, I think it's looking quite good. The ring of water, the ring of salt water, the halo, I mean, it's pretty striking. And of course our little golden balls down the bottom. Awesome. So how are things looking? Well, oxygen is looking great. Oxygen pressure is really nice throughout the base. We're at like 1,300 grams, 1,250, 1,200 even down the bottom. The only place it's a little bit low is down here. Why is that? Because that is where we're sucking CO2. Wrong one. We're sucking CO2. Let's speed this up. We're sucking CO2 out that's coming out from our coal generators and also from our natural gas generators. We're passing that down to our molten slicksters, who all seem very, very happy and healthy at the moment, which is all good news. We're just about keeping them fed, just about 4 slicksters. All right, cool. So let's go back up here. What were we looking at? We were looking at the oxygen, weren't we? First of all, right. So oxygen, yeah, looking good, looking good. We're also obviously sucking in oxygen and any other nasty gases like chlorine. So what do we do with them? Well, oxygen is being fed into our oxygen network to feed our Atmo suits. And that system's nice and full. And because we're full, whenever we get full, we've got a little overflow pipe which throws out the excess gas there. Any chlorine or anything else gets dumped outside here. And that's why out here we've got all of our chlorine down here. Awesome sauce. Alright, so let's move on. Let's move on to power. Power looks pretty sweet. I'm going to call this the Death Star power system. Looks a little bit like Death Star, doesn't it? So yeah, we've got a pretty nice layout. We've got our large power transformers all around the base, all the way down to here. And then the same, we've got a couple at the bottom which are feeding things outside. Let's take a look at the power overlay. So yeah, we're feeding a few things outside, and obviously we've managed to get the main circuit, the heavy watt conductive wire, which will carry 50,000 watts. We've taken that out. We've got it going out here and out here. There's a little bit there that I need to get fixed. Actually, that's a good point. Let's put a ladder in there while I think about it. There we go. Then they can reach that. And we're using that to feed down to our volcano tamers. And we'll take a look at the volcano tamers a little bit later. We've got one there and one there. And they're running away very nicely. We've actually got quite a lot of copper. We've got 20 tons of copper in there. And we've got what? We've got 24 tons of iron in there. What I need to do, what I've decided I'm going to do, I'm going to have some automation, some conveyor belts that take that iron and copper out of there and put it into a specific cooling room. Now that I've got my base cooling completely set up, which we will look at in a second, I'm going to set up a little cooling room, ship all of the metals into there and cool it, which would be awesome. Okay, so what else? What else? What else can we say about power? Nothing really. Power's very good. If you look down here, we set it up, if you remember, with these smart batteries. So we use the natural gas first. And if I click on this battery, you can see this is set to kick in when our batteries get down to 60%. We start using natural gas. The volcanoes are running all the time, so we've got a little bit of power coming in from the volcanoes. These kick in on average probably about 200 to 250 watts each. It kind of depends if the volcano's dormant or not. If the volcano's not is dormant, we get nothing. Obviously, when they're not dormant, we get like 500 watts or so out of each one. So on average, about 200, 250 watts coming from those. So then we've got our natural gas generators fed by the golden balls down here. Lovely. And if we take a look at that, they just feed into a single pipe. These rooms act as natural storage areas. And you can see they're both pretty much full right now. 5 kilograms of pressure in each, near enough. And then they feed in to our second layer of storage, which is also full at the moment. And then they feed into the natural gas generators. And we'll look at the temperatures of those in a minute. Kind of interesting. Right, so that's that. Then we've got the hydrogen. I think hydrogen's next. Yeah. So when if our batteries drop below 60%, so the natural gas generators aren't providing enough, then we have the hydrogen generators kick in at 50%. And then if they're not enough, well, actually, I suppose I should show you. So yeah, you can see we've got loads of hydrogen waiting to be burned off as soon as our batteries run down. And that system's kind of balanced, like, pretty nicely. We've got the gas element sensor here, which starts this pump when hydrogen is down at this level, which it is at the moment. And then as the hydrogen gets pumped out, this will turn off so that we keep hydrogen in this area for our lovely little Drecos. And that's been working really nicely. Let me show you this. We have got, I couldn't believe this when I looked, we have got over 100 tons of plastic. Oh my God. Those Drecos have really been churning it out. Awesome. Good job. Well done, Drecos. Right. Let's go back down here. So yeah. So then we've got the hydrogen. And then finally, we've got this row of coal generators. This kicks in at 40%. So if our batteries get down to 40%, these kick in. And then this row of did I say batteries? Coal generators. These kick in at 30%. And I've got to say, these hardly ever run. You can see these are running now. And now our batteries are starting to go up again. These do run very, very occasionally, but it's like almost never. So, that's power generation. What do we want to look? Let's look at the temperatures, because this is where things start to get kind of interesting. So, ideally, what we want is a kind of greeny yellow look. Let's see what it is. Oh, look at that. That's pretty neat. Green is like around 25 degrees, which is like, that's pretty much ideal territory. 25 degrees. Up to like this yellow will be about 30 degrees. So there you go, 29. As I move closer over here, as it gets more yellow, up to about 30 degrees. We've got a couple of little orange spots, which is like this area up here and this area up here. Now the reason that those are orange and they're up at around 40 degrees is because I put some extra storage up here. Let's go and take a look. I put an extra row of storage in up here because this is kind of up in the attic. I thought that's a good place, out of the way. The thing is, because I put in extra storage, they were able to bring up loads of stuff from down here where it's like 90 degrees and up here like 40, 50. So between like 40 degrees and 100 degrees, they brought a load of stuff up and they dumped it into here. And if we take a look, although a lot of this has cooled down, just going to have a look over here. There was some very hot stuff in here. My God, you know what? This is really cooled down. Let's take a look. Have we got any of the... No, it's really cooled down. This stuff was really hot, some of it. We had stuff up at like 90 plus degrees in here. But no, all of that, you know what? That's all been cooled down. See, we got lead at 47 degrees. But I bet when that came up here, because all the lead has come up from down here, that lead would have been brought up at, like, what are we down here? 122 degrees. So yeah, see, we've got lead. We've got some lead down here. That's at like 120 degrees. So we're doing a great job. That was like verging on red when I first put the storage in and they brought all the stuff up here. But now, See, you can see like at this end where we've got this. This part here is getting the most cooling. I'll show you the cooling loop in a second. You're gonna love it. Yeah, that one's yellow now. That one's down to 32 degrees. Over here, 45, 47, 48. Let's have a look at that one. See if it's got anything. See, we've got granite at like 65 degrees. But if we sat here and watched this would eventually tick down. Oh, there you go, 64.4 now. So yeah, it's all getting cooled off. Lovely. Okay, so our temperatures are looking great. The two key areas are this area here for our plants. This needs to be below 30 degrees, and it is 24 degrees. 24, 23, 23 over here. Awesome, very nice farming country around there. And then over here, this is kind of important, our fish farm. And you know what, if I switch to the plumbing overlay, we can have a look at this and it'll show us the water temperature. It's 25.4 at the moment, but you can see the water coming through is below 25, so I'm hoping that that's going to come down a little bit. This water at 24.5 degrees, it's a little bit warmer than I would like. But that's because it is going through here and cooling this hot stuff up here. So I'm thinking over time, this is going to come down another half a degree or so once we get all of the heat out of there. But the key is we are below 25 degrees. So I'm hoping that this water is going to continue to cool down and get back under 25 degrees. All right, cool. So that's enough of the water. Enough of the water. We'll get to that in a second. Let's have a look at the gas overlay. So let's switch this to just gases. So hydrogen at the top. We've got virtually no carbon dioxide. It's a tiny little bit down here, but it all drifts across and gets pumped out eventually. We're producing carbon dioxide from our coal generators, and obviously the dupes are producing carbon dioxide. We've got carbon dioxide traps here for our food, and here for our food. I've actually moved a lot of the pincher peppers down here. This is all pincher pepper storage, and it was clogging up the rest of my food storage. So I set this to pincher peppers only and moved most of the pincher peppers down there. And you can see that we've got a huge amount of pincher peppers. Got to figure out how the hell to get rid of them. The plague of the pincher peppers. Okay, so that's that. All right, I think we're pretty much there now. Light, the only light at the moment is there. Although now that I've got the full-on base cooling, I think we're going to be starting to introduce a little bit of light here and there. Oh yeah, because we can cool it down. Otherwise, if you haven't got good base cooling, be careful about adding lights because lights emit heat. All right, here it is, the plumbing overlay. This is what you've been waiting for. Look at this. Oh my. OCD dream. Isn't that beautiful? So let's have a quick general look, and then I'll take you through the specifics. So we have water coming out of our system here, and it's split. Now, one change that I've made: these liquid valves. I was outputting 10 kilograms, and I was doing it as 5,000 or 5 kilograms and 5 kilograms. I've actually dropped that down, and I'll kind of explain more about why in a minute or two. But for right now, just know that I've restricted this to a total of 9 kilograms, and that's to prevent the system backing up. And I'll talk about that in a second because it's important. And then here, this is a second set of valves. So here we're amalgamating, or we're combining the water that's coming out from our dual reservoirs, into a single flow so that we can just check the temperature. Now I've actually dropped that down a degree to 19 degrees, which I found was like just spot on. So we're running 19 degrees, lovely. And what are we at the moment? Like 18.7, excellent. Once you've run it through that single point to do a temperature check, you can then split it up into, well, to be honest, you can split it up into as many flows as you want. I split it up into 2 flows. And the top one I've set to 5 kilograms, and the bottom one I've set to 4 kilograms. But you could set those to whatever you want, as long as they add up to the same total as this, so that they add up to 9 kilograms. So you could have like 2 kilograms going down here. If this didn't need a lot of cooling, you could set this to 2 kilograms and have 7 kilograms going through the top of the base. Or you could have 3 or 4 or 5 different flows cooling different areas for different things. So that's that. So where do they go from there? Now this is mirrored on both sides. So whatever I show you on one side is going to be exactly the same on the other side, or almost. I'll point out any differences. So for the bottom, we've got our natural gas generators, and our natural gas generators run pretty hot, right? Especially if they're running continuously. So I've put in some radiant pipes there to ensure that we keep the temperatures nice and low, and then we're just running around giving coverage. And as you can see, look how green that is. I mean, it's like 20, less than 22 degrees. And our natural gas generators are running at like 36 degrees. That's pretty chill. That's pretty chill for a natural gas generator. And then on the other side, a similar loop, but nothing fancy. There's no areas that need like particularly high levels of cooling. The coal generators don't run that much. And you can see that this area is like at its hottest, it's like 30 degrees. In fact, like it's under 30 degrees, which is pretty cool. So yeah, loving the cooling down there. Up top, we've got our top flows that go up here, and then they just wind through the base. Where we've got the bristle blossoms in the centre, I've put off little spurs to feed them. So there's a tiny bit of water being taken out of the system. And then they continue going up here. They feed our showers. So again, we have a little bit of water being fed out of the system. They carry on going up here. Oh, by the way, at the point where we pass our electrolyzers, and let me just show you that for a second. So down here, I've got electrolyzer flanked by a couple of oxygen diffusers, which are turned off at the moment because I've got rid of all the algae. Oh, we've got a Draco on the loose. I'll wrangle it. Oh, we'll attempt to be wrangled. You can go and be drowned. I'll show you this in a minute. So, yeah, but the electrolyzers obviously produce slightly hotter air. Now, to be honest, with the cooling we've got in the base, and have had like almost from the beginning, the hot air coming off the electrolyzers is nothing. But I have got my temp shift plates to just to equalize the temperatures, so we don't get like a hot spot here. And I've put in just a few little bits of radiant pipe, just to help cool this area. And as you can see, it's like deep green all around it. And even in the center where the hottest air is coming out, it's like what? You'll see it go to like 40 degrees for like a millisecond or something, but it will get spread out. And around here, it's like 25, 26 degrees. Beautiful. And the same with this one up here. Did I do anything for the kitchen? I don't think I did actually. No, I didn't do anything fancy for the kitchen. The kitchen is staying nice and cool all around here. Right, the food's all like 25 degrees, 25, 24. All looking good. Up here, again, same thing. Now I haven't put temp shift plates in here. I could put temp shift plates in here. But you can see it's like this tiny little warm spot. I'm not going to say it's a hot spot, it's a warm spot. It's like 45 degrees. But, you know, a couple of tiles out and we're back down to like 25, 26 degrees. Oh, we've got some dancing going on. It's a party. Cool. All right, so let's go up here. So we continue flowing up here. I have put radiant pipes in to ensure that we keep our plants nice and cool. Although, to be honest, that's really, really not necessary. Our water's at 22, 23 degrees by the time it gets up here. So the water starts off, I should have shown you this. The water starts off at around, okay, so the water's coming out of here at somewhere between probably 17.5 and 19.5, maybe 20 degrees. So about, let's say between 18 and 20. And then by the time it gets all the way up here it's like 23, 22, 23 degrees. Up here, picks up a little bit going through these because they're radiant tiles. And then we run out here. Now, this I'll talk about in a second. This side, we just wind our way through the base, feeding the toilets and the sinks. So a little bit of water loss there. We come around here, cool the fish down, wind our way down. And by the time we've cooled that whole half of the base, we've gone up from, like, what, 19 degrees to about 25 degrees. So we're picking up about 5-6 degrees at the moment. But like I said, I expect that to come down like half a degree to a degree once we've finished cooling this up here. Okay, now let's look at this side of the base. This side of the base is slightly different because we've got this stuff going on over here. Now, this is the hot water. So over here we have a water geyser which is producing water at 95 degrees. Over here we've got a cool steam vent producing steam. I'm going to pause this for a second because this is worth showing you. Producing steam at 110 degrees. So what I decided to do was, because I wanted to enclose this, if I enclose this, then there's no way for the steam to cool itself. In order for the steam to condense so that we can pump it out as water, it needs to condense. It needs to dissipate the heat in some way. And when it's enclosed in insulated tiles, there's no way for it to do that. So what I did, I thought, you know what, I'm going to run my pipes through there. Now this thing is has literally just this second finished erupting. Okay, so it's pretty much at its hottest right now. And let's see what the water's doing. So the water comes into the system here and it's about 24 degrees, as we'd expect. Yeah, about 24 degrees. Once it goes through here, while this is at its hottest, it comes out, what are we? Because it's now sucking all the heat out of here. And it'll go up to about 29 degrees. Yep, about 29 degrees. Oh, it's just hit 30. But what it's doing is it's pulling the heat out of here. And you can see that the steam is dropping, the steam temperature is dropping rapidly, and condensing. You can see it dripping down, and that means that this is producing plenty of steam. It does go over pressure like a little bit, but most of the time it's producing steam. And this water in here doesn't get over 30 degrees. But important, if you're going to do something like this, don't use radiant pipes. Your water will pick up too much heat and get too hot. And we don't want to overheat the base. So on this side of the base, you can see we're still at a pretty nice temperature. But if we have a look, the water's coming through here now at 29 degrees. As soon as this stops erupting, which it has, look, all the steam is instantly condensed. And the water immediately goes back to 26, dropping down to 25. Right? And that's why this area isn't completely yellow. It's kind of a greeny yellow. Because sometimes the water's coming through at 24, 25 degrees. Sometimes it's coming through at like 29, 30 degrees. So we're probably averaging here around 26, 27 degrees. Well, yeah, there you go, 28 degrees. Here, 28, 29. A little bit warmer up here because we've got this hot water pipe coming through here. So, yeah, looking nice. Okay, and then it just wends its way through the base, avoids this water reservoir, I'll talk about that in a second, and comes back into the system. Now, I have made a little change to the way the water comes back into the system. And the reason for that is that these reservoirs, for some reason, were not balancing. One was always full, and one was starting to drop. I mean, very slowly, but it was starting to drop. And like, I couldn't figure out why. I think, guys, that it's the same reason that, oh God, we can't really see here. But you know how, if you let gases settle naturally, then they'll be kind of slanted because the lighter gases go up and to the left, and the heavy gases go down and to the right. And that's because of the way the game handles diffusion of gases, in that it does it. So if you've got a tile here, it splits the gas out, but to the surrounding 9 tiles, but it does it it does this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. So there's a tendency for the lighter gases to go up there and for the heavier gases to go this way. And I think it's something like that was causing this. So I made a little change. Let me show you on this side first. So on this side, what I did was to add this crossbar in between the 2 reservoirs. So we've got the water coming in from the circulation system, and then we've got the cooling system over here. So we're taking water equally from the 2 reservoirs, passing it through the cooling system, and then it comes back in, and again it's split and fed equally into the 2 reservoirs, or it should be equally. Now you're seeing it. Okay, so now we've got an overflow situation, and what's going to happen is one of them's going to be full. Okay, this one is at almost full. That one's not quite full. So this one 5,000 is full. This one is at 4,700. Okay, so what's going to happen now is that because I've put that little cross connection in, water that's trying to get into this reservoir can actually flow in and go into this reservoir instead. Now what that means is there's a limit. We can only get 10 kilograms of water into this reservoir at a time, and we are trying to put that, like, pretty much that amount in anyway. In actual fact, we're only putting most of the time 5 kilograms. If we're running the cooling loop at the same time, then it's close to 10 kilograms. But there is some room to get some water that should be going into this reservoir, and you can see that we are feeding some water across into that reservoir, and that helps to keep the 2 balanced, and that's why they're both pretty much full. And I've been running this for quite a while. It's taken me a long time to balance all the systems and make sure everything's running nice and smoothly. So in order to make room to get that in, and I needed to have this pipe coming in from this side. So we've actually got 4 connections into here, and I'm only overflowing from one reservoir. Before I had overflows from both of them, but now I'm just taking an overflow from one reservoir, because until they're both full we won't get that overflow. So now they're both full, and you just saw that packet go around, and that will shut off the hot water intake, just bringing fresh but hot water into the system, which then comes into the system and gets cooled. And just in case anybody's copying this and they want to see the automation and whatever, I'll give you, in case you want to pause, I'll just hang there. And you want to see the automation, that's the automation. So we've just got the temperature sensor on the merged outflow of water linked to this liquid shutoff. So when the water's too hot, which is over 19 degrees, this shutoff is enabled, and we allow water to flow around the cooling loop. Other than that, the only other one is here, and this is an element sensor. When it senses any water in the overflow, which means that both of the reservoirs are full, we turn off this shutoff, and this is a buffer gate, which is set to, I've decreased this. This was set to 200 seconds. I've decreased this to 100 seconds now, which seems to work perfectly. And then we've got a NOT gate here, because when we detect water, that sends a green signal to this buffer gate. That green signal is sent for 100 seconds, that we use a NOT gate to turn that into a red signal, so we shut this off for 100 seconds. So when that is not shut off, it allows hot water into the system, which comes into the reservoirs, and then the reservoirs get cooled by this cooling loop and the steam turbine, which also produces us a little bit of power, which is a bonus. Cooling loops always cost you power. They don't produce power. All right, unless it's a volcano, because you're actually getting... But this isn't a cooling loop. This is a volcano. Completely different. Right, so the difference, and the reason I wanted to show you this one, for this one I didn't have to change very much really. I just put in a bridge here to move this, to come into this side, and then just join those together. That's pretty much the only change that I made, and then getting rid of that connection. So there's only one overflow. On the other side, because the reservoirs are not flipped around, I had to make a little bit of extra room on this side. So I had to move the shut-off valve. So I dug out a couple of tiles, moved the shut-off valve, and I've got this pipe coming down here. Or, well, going up there, really. So that I could put in this bridge and have this pipe coming around the outside. Because obviously this pipe was in the way. And it's because this, on the other side, we've got a gap in between the intake, which we don't have on this side, so that's why I needed that extra space. But you can see, same thing. I've put a link between these two reservoirs and then just one overflow. And looks nice. Right, let's talk hot water, because this is pretty sweet. So we're bringing our hot water in from the geyser, and we're bringing our hot water in, piping in our hot water from the hot steam geyser, and then that gets pumped into this set of reservoirs. So it comes in here, and then this one, the outflow from this one, which we'll talk about in a second, it comes into here, and then this one comes into here, comes into here, comes into here, comes into here, and this acts as a reservoir, so that when the cool steam vent is in its dormant cycle, or the gas, or the water geyser is in its dormant cycle, in case those coincide and they're both dormant at the same time, we've got a nice backup supply of water which can keep supplying the system. And one of the changes that I made, the hot water, now I've gone back to my original design. The hot water comes from our buffering system, comes across here, goes down, feeds our electrolyzers, so we get maximum heat deletion. It's a good idea. So we feed that electrolyzer, we come down here, we feed that electrolyzer, come down to here, and then it just splits and feeds the intake of fresh water into this system, and it's the intake of fresh water into this system. There you go, so that's that. But I made a couple of other changes because I wanted to be able to completely balance inflow and outflow of water from the system. So I looked at like everything that uses water or introduces water to the system, and automated it. So okay, for over here, for example, all of our polluted water ends up being dumped into this pit. So whether it's from the toilets or the showers or just polluted water that's, I don't know, somebody's made a mess or something, it all gets dumped into this reservoir here. And then this reservoir is pumped. It's cleaned, the water's cleaned, but it's still germy. If we look at the germ overlay, you can see very germy water. That gets fed through our germ killer. Germ killer, what is this? Germ killer 3.0. And then the water, the clean germ-free water, is pumped out here. Now, it used to just go into this reservoir, but now it goes over here and it goes into this last reservoir here and feeds into our clean water system. So it gets reintroduced back down to our distribution system down here. So that's why the hot water feeds into this one and not the one on the end, because this one is reserved for this water that's coming back from the base. But you can see that this one is pretty much always empty, because we're not returning that much water into the system, and we're taking 50% of our water from here first and 50% from here, and this always runs out. As you can see, that water goes in and very quickly that'll get used up. Now, as well as the water that's coming from our germ killer, we've also got polluted water from our natural gas generators. So here are our natural gas generators, and they are dripping out polluted water, which gets pumped out of here when there's enough to warrant it. It gets pumped, goes through this sieve, which cleans the water, and then it gets sent all the way around the outside. In fact, there's some going up there right now. And it goes up here and goes into that system. Okay, so that's that. Then, now I want to get rid of this reservoir, and I'm pretty much at the point where I can do it now. There's another Dreco. Let's get you wrangled. It's another Dreco that's been dropped by the look of it. And another one. You. Let's wrangle them. Because when they get dropped, they just roam around. There we go. They're going to get chucked in there. Alright, so this is going to get... I'm going to get rid of this completely now. That will eventually disappear. And this is going to be our open, clean water reservoir. Now this... yeah, I wanted this... Oh, yeah. Now hang on. What's going... Something's gone wrong with this. Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look. What's not working? Okay, so this... If, this should be sending a green signal if we're below 750. Oh, that, I just unpowered that. Ha ha ha. Okay, let's power that. Where are we? Conductive wire, yes. Power that, please. There we go. So now, this, yes, now this is going to start filling up. Hooray, good news. So now we can actually start wrangling these guys properly. There we go. Alright, so what happens? We don't want too much water going in here, and we don't want too little water going in here. So, the way I've got this set up, we have got, let's start with the automation. So I've got a hydro sensor here, and if we get above 750 kilograms in this tile, which we now have, and let me check the power on that, and make sure, yeah, that's fine, then this should start pumping water, and this should activate this shut-off valve over here. Now let's see what if we've got no that should be above. There we go. Haha, awesome. So if we've got above 750 grams in that tile there, right, then we start venting it into our clean water system. So that just goes out there to be reused in our hot water system. And then we go back down to here. If up here we this used to just fill up to the point where it overflowed, and then it would just the water would drip down here. But that's kind of wasteful of power. So I've got this set up with a hydro sensor in here, and this is set to below 750. So this fills up till we've got a total of 3.5 tiles of water, which is enough to fill the kill room. And then once we get to 750 in this tile, this shut-off valve stops. So there we go. Okay, so that's pretty much that. What else? Is that every? I think that's everything. But that means that the water system here now is completely autonomous. I can just leave it, and it just does everything itself, and it just maintains a really nice even base temperature. I am loving that. What else? What else then? So we've looked at the plumbing. Gases, pretty much, I've shown you all the gases. We've got the hydrogen that comes down from the top, and you can see now we obviously had some power demands, so all the hydrogen is... Oh, we've got a little bit left. But as soon as the batteries run down, the hydrogen will get used up. I've shown you all the power stuff. What else? I've shown you the oxygen. This section over here is not used. This is the chlorine room, and that stuff it was put in there basically to get any other gases out of there when I was setting it up. But now, to be honest, it's all redundant. So I could rip it out, but I leave it in there just in case. Or in case I want to put extra chlorine in there. But I store all my bleach stone in here, so you can see we're at pretty much max pressure. 2,500 grams per tile. Okay, what else? Decor. In all the bedrooms and the key areas. It's pretty nice around the farm. It's pretty nice. The only places that I probably should have tried to make it a little bit nicer. The kitchen could do with being a little bit nicer, but generally speaking, not too bad. Now that I've got rid of all the pinch pepper nuts, I could get rid of one of the fridges and move these walls over to allow me to put in, like, I don't know, like a couple of statues or something to get the decor up in here. But it's not really that important. Germs. We are still a germ-free base. The only place there's any germs is in our germy polluted water pit. And that gets taken and cleaned. Obviously, you'll get a few germs on. I don't know why there's germs on that comfy bed. Somebody's obviously done something. We've actually got a few germs on the food. And I'm not sure exactly where that's come from. I think it's because I was messing around with some stuff and I created some polluted dirt, which they moved and they didn't go through a bathroom to do it. So that's my fault. But that was just because I was changing things and it's not inherent in the system. So I could just disinfect those and it should clear everything up. In fact, no, they've already well, no, they haven't. Let's disinfect that. Let's get it clean. There you go. Disinfect that for me, please. There we go. Cool. Oh, that one as well. So obviously a couple of people have been involved. I could, in fact, I could say who it is. It's Squeezle. Squeezle's one of the people responsible, and Unlawful Mind. So there you go. All right. What else? That's the germs, and that's pretty much it. Farming. I mean, farming is tiny. We've got our nature reserve down here, and that's a key thing for anybody who hasn't been following the series. The transit tubes all route through this nature reserve, so anybody travelling through the transit tube will automatically pick up the nature reserve morale bonus, which is +6 to morale, which is kind of nice. What else? Rooms. So we've got our stables up here for our Drecos. We've got a couple of recreation rooms. We've got our Great Hall, which includes the kitchen, which seats currently 12 dupes, I think. Yep, 6 and 6, 12 dupes. And then we've got bedrooms and bathrooms. Everybody's got private bedrooms, of course. Then we've got the nature reserve down here. We've got stables for our hatches, who are providing, these are stone hatches who are providing coal for our coal generators. Down here, because our natural gas generators are our best power producers, we've got them set up with a power plant so that they produce 50% more power. So instead of producing 800 power each, they produce 1200 power each, which is pretty darn nice. And they run like quite a lot of the time because we've got quite a lot of natural gas. And yeah, other than that, we've got one more little stable down here, which is for our molten good lord, I forgot what they're called. Our molten slicksters. Okay, so that's all the rooms, and that is that's it. You know what? We could look at the exosuit overlay, I suppose. So we've got exosuits down here, and there to cover everything that's going on in this area down to here. So the 2 volcano tamers and our golden balls, and then we've got another one down here to cover this area, which is our molten slicksters, and when we start getting into the crude oil and whatever, and we've got a lot of crude oil sitting here, and up here, our exosuits to get into our Dreco area. And automation. Yeah, our incubators are on a timer, so they only run for a short time at the beginning of each day, so that they can get their lullaby buff, and then they turn off. So we save a lot of power doing that. What else have we got on automation that I haven't shown you? I've already taught you about how the hydrogen works. These are just hydro sensors to this is a hydro sensor to leave a little water in here to help the steam condense. So I think that's set to like 500 kilograms. Yeah, 500 kilograms. And this one, to be honest, that one doesn't need to be set at anything other than like 20 kilograms, but I think I changed. Oh no, it's 50 kilograms. That's just so that the pump isn't running with very small amounts of water and wasting power. Any other automation that I haven't shown you? Yeah, if you want to know how the Germ Killer version 3.0 works, go and watch the Germ Killer version 3.0 video. And the same with the kill room. If you want to know how the kill room works, then go and watch that video. I've explained that. I've explained these. I've explained the power, and that's it. So there you go, guys. That is a complete base tour and update. At this point, we are now ready to move on to, if you like, the late game. So what we're going to be producing steel, getting rocketry going out into space, bringing back advanced materials. So if you want to watch that, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you tune in, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little update. I am loving this base. If you've got any more suggestions for things you'd like to see, I am going to be adding some more dupes in, getting rid of this. the OCD is going to continue. I'm going to be decorating this up a little bit, I think. All right, guys. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you for the next one. Peace out.